Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. Prepare for some intense gaslighting, fellow Canadians, because over the next 2 weeks, the Liberal Party and the legacy media are going to try and convince you that the Liberal Party has turned over a new page and they have a fresh new feel simply because they replaced Justin Trudeau with Mark Carney. Nothing has changed. In fact, Mark Carney, when he becomes prime minister in the next couple of days here, is going to be bringing back corrupt old Liberal Party officials like Marco Mendocino. I'm going to get to that issue in just a second here because I also want to talk about how the legacy media is covering Mark Carney's Liberal leadership victory because they're acting like this is a big mandate. It's not. I'm going to get to that in just a second. I just want to give you guys a reminder. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, do all that great stuff. It really helps grow the channel, as well as it makes sure that the videos pop up in your feed more often so that you can see them right when they come out. But this was the CBC News headline for Mark Carney's leadership victory. And of course, he won, so there should be headlines about it. But I take issue, a little bit of umbrage with the way that this is worded. It says, Liberal leadership race. Mark Carney elected in landslide to be next prime minister. No, he wasn't elected in a landslide to become the next prime minister. He was elected in a landslide to become the next Liberal Party leader. I know that we don't actually elect prime ministers in Canada, but I would say that this would feel more legitimate if Mark Carney was already an MP. And again, we've had that happen before. Danielle Smith was not an MLA when she was elected as the new leader of the UCP, but I believe she actually waited to be truly sworn in until after she became an MLA. She didn't really do anything until before she became an MLA or until after she did. And I thought that that was a better way of handling it. But the legacy media is really pouring it on strong, like he was elected in some sort of like sweeping into office in some sort of federal race. He wasn't. He was elected in what was an extremely sleepy federal leadership race. I want to show you how sleepy this thing was before I move on to the corrupt officials that he's bringing back. This was just my post summing it up because yesterday I talked about the fact that Pierre Poilievre got almost double as many votes as people who voted in the Liberal leadership race when he became the Conservative leader back in 2022. But it's worse than that. And it proves that Mark Carney was not really being competed against. Chrystia Freeland, Karina Gould, and Frank Bales were not trying. I'm not saying that the leadership race was like rigged in the sense that the votes were not the votes. It was rigged in the sense it was stage managed. I made the joke yesterday that it was as rigged as the country music charts of the WWE. The WWE is probably the better comparison here because it was like play acting. Chrystia Freeland never laid a glove on Mark Carney. None of the candidates ever laid a glove on him. The only ones who did were kicked out, Chandra Arya and Ruby Dalla. Chandra didn't really attack them, but he was obviously trying to undermine much of the Liberals' narrative over the past few years by being, oddly enough, the anti-DEI candidate. But whatever. But Ruby Dalla was obviously taking the gloves off to swing at Mark Carney, and so that's why they dumped her. But take a look at this. So I pointed out, I literally say I point out in the start of this thing, so I'm confusing myself. But anyways, I will just read this. I will point out that Roman Baber got more votes in the 2022 Conservative Party of Canada leadership than all of Mark Carney's opponents combined in the 2025 Liberal leadership. This in spite of the fact 1 year CPC memberships are $15 and Liberal Party memberships are $0. Either Carney's opponents are just infamously bad at politics, or the Telford Trudeau team told everyone not to run hard and make Carney seem weak by getting lower on the first ballot or getting lower first ballot numbers. That's why I think Ruby Dalla and Chandra Arya were kicked out. I agree with myself. You will be unsurprised to hear, but that was just a good way of me summing it up earlier today. Really, they couldn't get more votes combined in this Liberal leadership race where there was $0 needed to buy a membership. And combined, all of Mark Carney's opponents got fewer votes than Roman Baber, who came a distant fourth in the Conservative Party leadership. He got 5% of the vote. And he got more votes than Freeland, Gould, and like Bayless combined. That's insane. That's called not a real leadership. Mark Carney was selling memberships, or selling, I guess, just registering members and collecting donations. And the others basically brought in the bare minimum amount of money. to even get in the race. I think one of them maybe got over 400,000, but you needed 300,000 to get in the race. And so most of them only ended up raising like a couple dollars more than they absolutely needed to because they didn't want this to be a full coronation. So they just threw some extra warm bodies in the room to make it look good. And that's why the debates were dull. That's why they were horrible, because none of them actually disagreed with each other. Yeah, Karina ran a little bit more to the left, and Freeland kind of just did her anti-American shtick, and Bayless ran a little bit to the right. But for the most part, they were unwilling to challenge the front runner. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I seem like a disgusting mess in this video, but I've just been drinking too much water before this. But now I want to get over to the new decisions that Mark Carney is making as Liberal leader. He is bringing back Marco Mendicino. You know, the guy who pursued the Emergencies Act during the trucker convoy? The guy who was trying to plant stories in the legacy media that the truckers were racist, far-right Nazis. He literally did that. He was on the phone with journalists and other staff members trying to coordinate how to smear the trucker convoy people to justify invoking the Emergencies Act that was then later ruled to be illegitimate. Absolutely insane. And now I just want to cut to the CBC clip of this going on because it goes even deeper than that. The man is complicit in covering up foreign interference. Check this out. This isn't the foreign interference thing, but this is the CBC covering it.
While that was underway, we also had some breaking news in regards to the new government under Mark Carney that is still in the process of being formed. That sources tell our chief political correspondent, Rosemary Barton, and the host of Power and Politics, David Cochran, that Marco Mendicino will be the chief of staff for Mark Carney. So, but we don't know at this stage whether or not that is going to be part of a transition period or a permanent move as well. We know that Marco Mendicino certainly was a former public safety minister, and he said he would not be seeking re-election, left the party over a disagreement really when it came to foreign policy as well. A lot to unpack.
He effectively left because of just how pro-Hamas the Liberals were getting. By the way, Marco Mendicino doesn't actually care. He was just doing that because his community didn't like how pro-Hamas the party was getting. That's why he's perfectly fine coming back and serving under Mark Carney, even as Mark Carney is perfectly willing to say awful things like about Israel, just as Justin Trudeau was smearing that country, like patting on the head all the pro-Hamas forces that are behind the Liberal Party. He's fully okay with it. But here's the foreign interference thing. Marco Mendicino was involved in covering up CCP interference in the 2021 election. It has been documented that he was given information time and time again showing that certain conservatives were being targeted. Even a fellow Liberal was being targeted, Kevin Vuong, who the Liberals threw under the bus and got rid of because I guess they didn't want any anti-CCP Liberals in the party. And he was like obviously just like overlooking data, basically was ignoring information that could have caused the Liberals to need to crack down on the CCP interference. He was willing to put up with it because it was causing conservatives to lose races. Absolutely insane that this guy's being brought back. And guess who else is being brought back? Gerald Butts is back. You know that guy who had to leave over the SNC-Lavalin scandal? Who else are we going to bring back? Catherine McKenna? Why don't we bring back like Katie, like, you know, not Katie Telford, although she's staying around too. Let's bring Kathleen Wynne into it. Why not? Let's just bring it back everyone. David Lametti. Let's bring back David Lametti. Let's bring back every single corrupt or weird liberal former MP we can get. Let's bring back Kent Hare. Let's do it all. Let's bring back every single, who is that? Sheila Copps? Let's bring back Sheila Copps. Let's cause all these liberals. Who's the boo-hoo lady? Jennifer O'Connell? She should be brought back because we haven't made it clear enough that this government is no different than Justin Trudeau's. In fact, it is willing to embrace the people too corrupt for Justin Trudeau to keep around. Wild. By the way, from that CBC clip, I do have to mention, this lady looks like the female version of me, and I'm scared by that. That's just something I noticed. Nothing wrong with that. I just noticed that. But yeah, I don't know where the Liberals are like thinking that this is going to be a big, you know, that they have momentum at this point. They need to gaslight Canadians super hard that this government is different. And just off the rhetoric that it's fresh now, it's turning a new page, we're different, they're trying to get Canadians to come back and vote for them. They need to be reminded that Mark Carney was the economic advisor for the past 4 to 5 years. He owns every single stupid policy that was in place or passed in those 4 years because he endorsed it. Do you think Justin Trudeau was calling his own shots? Not a chance. Even Freeland wasn't calling her own shots. She basically said when she had resigned as deputy prime minister and finance minister that it was Carney and Trudeau telling her what to do with that GST HST tax freeze and a lot of other stupid policies that she actually labeled as a gimmick. We're just going to forget all this apparently because the legacy media wants this guy to win. Anyways, so that should be it for me today, guys. I am going to make videos in the near future on the BC Conservative situation. By the way, I fully back Dallas Brody, Tara Armstrong, and Jordan Keeley. I backed Dallas being kicked out because that was disgusting that they would kick Dallas out. Dallas is a great BC Conservative MLA, now an independent, and Tara Armstrong and Jordan Keeley were right to follow her out because right now the BC Conservatives are being run into the floor by very woke people who got into the HQ of the party and want to get rid of all the blue conservatives. They're extremely overpaid, way too young, and I don't care about age. I mean, mentally, they are too young. They are still in high school, and they are playing stupid high school games with the party. I will be talking about this at some point, and I think a lot of people who voted BC Conservative should, at this point, hold back any donations. Do not donate to these people if they're going to remove MLAs like Dallas Brody for telling the truth about Kamloops. The truth that even John Rustad had to admit was true, even though he formally demanded that Dallas Brody apologize for saying there was no grave site in Kamloops. There's no 215 bodies. Even the Kamloops band isn't investigating it because they know there's probably nothing there. But then he still smeared Dallas and said, well, she tried to attack, like native victims of abuse. No, she didn't. That's disgusting. She was mocking people who were trying to demand that she not acknowledge the truth about Kamloops. And then everyone's trying to pretend that she's going after abuse victims. No, she's not. In fact, she is basically saying, how about we not use the real stories of abuse victims to try and justify a fake story that activists are only using to get their way? I've kind of already talked about this BC Conservative situation now, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. So yeah, more to come on that. Not sure if it's going to be tomorrow, but more to come in the future. See you guys later.